The Around the NFL podcast is anything but milquetoast.
Welcome to another edition of the Around the NFL podcast. My name is Dan Hansis, coming to you from a virtual room that is teeming with heroes. Mark Sessler, Chris Wessling, Greg Rosenthal. What is up, boys?
Hey, Dan.
You know what it is. Flagship time. It's the flagship program Sunday night where we recap every game that went down in the NFL. And perhaps, boys, we should just celebrate that today even happened. And maybe we should start looking at every one of these weeks as a gift, because I know, things looked, we had one game moved totally off the schedule this week. Steelers-Titans. We had Cam Newton testing positive for COVID-19, leading to a postponement of Chiefs-Patriots. We had drama around the Saints because of a false positive test that led to Saints players being woken up in the middle of the night last night ahead of a game to be tested. So this continues COVID to intrude the landscape in the NFL. And it spooked me this weekend, and I'm sure you guys felt the same.
Yeah, you have to worry what's the rest of the season going to be like. I mean, I know there's one person celebrating, that's Mark Sessler, because he won some sandwiches off of it. But you do worry about what's coming up.
I actually lost sandwiches, Greg. My sandwich prop, which a lot of people, because maybe
that was it. That's right.
Typically, I think in the past I would have gone towards the angle of cancellations and movements, but I tried to suggest a positive sandwich prop.
That's right. It was Wes that was rooting
Wes got
for
sandwiches.
COVID. Yeah, that's right.
Because what it was, because you were putting us in the position to take the bet, and then we would essentially be rooting for a stoppage of some kind.
Right. And Dan, you and Greg, and I
going to put that energy out there.
Well, you took a unusually pure take on it all. Sort of just, I don't believe in that kind of sandwich. I texted you guys. I do think that it probably goes down, and I'm not proud of this. It's one of the more evil energy sandwich props around, because I don't want any of this. I'm with you. When the Saints news hit last night, something in me felt just total darkness. And I'm glad that situation worked out, but it's just a reminder that it's just a dice roll. It just felt like a dice roll going into this weekend.
I fight hard against cynicism, and I don't think I'm cynical at all, but I thought if you can get out of this with only a few canceled football games or postponed games, like as much as we've been facing in 2020, that's a big win.
I mean, unless we're
a big
talking
deal to
about
lose a few football games.
Wes, unless we're talking about the Cincinnati Reds offense, you are not a cynic. I agree with you.
Well, I mean, I believe that was realism. They hit their batting average was 212 this year. Give me a break.
Can't do it. Can't have it. Won't have it. All right. So that is the reality. That this is not something that's going away. And we just have to hope it doesn't get worse than it got this weekend. But staying on the positive side of things, we got nearly a full slate of games to talk about on Sunday. So that's what we're going to do here, going through each one. And Mark, I think we have history today. And I want you to just soak this up and really enjoy it, because you and I both root for career loser franchises. But the one you root for is on the upswing. And I think in all the years that we've done this podcast, we're about to do something that we've never done before, which is lead with the Cleveland Browns.
Whoa.
So let's do it, Ricky.
Yeah.
Three receivers tight off the line to the right. Beckham to the left. Here's Mayfield on a reverse. They're going to give it to Beckham. He's rolling to the right and running. He's up to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, 35, 30. There he goes to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! OBJ! He's got a hat trick!
What a gutsy call!
Odell Beckham Jr., 50 yards on the run. And really about a 70-yard run, because by the time he got it, he was 20 yards behind the line.
He was 12 yards behind the line, but the point stands. Jim Donovan and Doug Deacon with a call for WKRK. Yes, Odell Beckham finished with his first 3-score game in almost 5 years, capped by that 50-yard run on a reverse after the Cowboys had cut a 41-14 deficit to 3 points with less than 4 minutes to play. Beckham had 5 catches for 81 yards and 2 scores. In addition to that clinching run, final score 49-38. Browns nearly put up a 50 burger in Jero World. Mark, that was the Odell the Browns thought they were getting when they traded for him 19 months ago.
Yeah, it feels like it's taken so long to get that game, obviously, from Odell Beckham, and there's so much pressure around it happening that it happened at the ideal time. His first touchdown was trickery too, with Jarvis Landry unfurling a bullet downfield to Odell in the end zone, and that kind of was the theme to me. And we've mentioned this during Cleveland's start, that the better players on this roster have stepped up and performed, which is really unusual. They've had a couple name players throughout the years that have done the opposite. They come to Cleveland and their careers fizzle, but it's Jarvis Landry, it's Odell Beckham. Myles Garrett, his third straight game with a strip sack. I mean, the defense was a hot mess down the stretch, but Denzel Ward with the game-ending pick. And you got Kareem Hunt coming in for an injured Nick Chubb. And the running game thriving with guys like Dearness Johnson stepping in. They had 300 yards on the ground. They had 200 and something versus the Bengals a couple weeks ago. You're playing a messy defense in Dallas, no questions about it. But I mean, you went out and hammered them. And, you can point to, I would say this, if you wanted to point to one way this game could have ended a little differently, Baker Mayfield missed a wide open Odell Beckham right in that same world where they needed to save the game. And it was third down and Odell Beckham was streaking down the field. And Baker he had to get rid of the pass and he overthrew Odell. And maybe we would be thinking about Baker Mayfield a little differently in this game, but his numbers are low and they're just not leaning on him right now because they don't need to, but he didn't throw an interception. He didn't make a key mistake. He's not the reason that they, got decimated by the Dallas offense. And Wes, you pointed out this number. I just think this is incredible through 4 weeks that Dak Prescott is on pace right now. No passer has ever crossed 5,500 yards. He is on pace for 6,760 yards right now. These teams had nearly 600 yards of offense at halftime.
And they're an onside kick away from 0-4 for all those passing yards.
That's the thing. It's getting wasted by a defense that I think definitely misses someone like Leighton Vander Esch. Jalen Smith is just not himself right now. And there were grumblings about this Mike Nolan defense saying that it's too complicated. It's not, whatever it is not working. I mean, it's the fourth straight game in a row. And you have to wonder how much longer, if you're Mike McCarthy, that you don't have, you have to scapegoat Mike Nolan at some point. Also, because he's just simply not.
Four games in.
I'm not saying right now, I'm saying at some point, but I mean, how much worse can it get? I love the way that they called that Beckham reverse and score, because I think it showed some guts on the part of Kevin Stefanski, who is the first offensive play caller outside of the one brief season with Kyle Shanahan in Cleveland that maximizes these players. So, you don't have to wonder if they're going to show up. I don't know if they can keep this kind of thing going, but this was an impressive force the way you want to play right on the Cowboys, and the Cowboys on defense did not have an answer.
There's nobody walking through that door for the Cowboys. That's one reason why, even if Dak Prescott is not going to maintain this pace, he still has a very good chance to set the all-time record.
Well, the Browns are +8 in turnover margin the last 2 weeks, so that's going to be tough to keep going. They turned it over 3 straight, but the running game and the offensive line being great, and I think that's possible to keep it going the rest of the year. When you play the Steelers twice, that'll be tested. But there's no question right now that they are run blocking. When you can lose Chubb and you run for 300 yards, forget about it. And McCarthy, by the way, deserves all the blame for hiring Nolan. I mean, it's not like you can separate that out. Nolan was his coach, on the 05 Niners, and that's like his main decision. And it's early, but they have way too much talent. I know they're not the most talented defense, and I had some concerns, but they still have some players on that side of the ball, and they are right now among the worst in the league.
There was definitely like a 15-minute stretch where I was convinced Cleveland was going to lose, and it was right around a point where I had to do.
I don't believe it.
I never believed they were going to win until
tweeting whenever things start going well for the Browns. It's like the second they get ahead, it's like, okay, no more talking about.
Wait, you weren't sitting in your house today, like as the Dallas Cowboys put up 24 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, being like, "Oh, this is okay. They'll be fine."
I never for a minute felt good about it. And I do like watching Mike McCarthy on the sideline. I do think some of these coaches must love having to wear a mask, because you can only imagine what the expression is for guys like him and Matt Patricia underneath the mask on on what I'm watching, that it's like, thank God no one can see the look of complete beguilement on my face.
That's what superstars do. And I've been as hard on Odell Beckham as anybody going back to his Giants days, because for all his talent, it really hasn't shown up as often in years now. And this was like a turn back the clock performance where, because you knew his physical skills are all there. It's just a matter of, I guess, putting it together and having the right setup to succeed. And he bailed out the entire team in this game. There was a shot after the Cowboys pulled it to 41-38. After the 2-point conversion, the Dak Prescott run, they cut to the sideline. I don't know who the Browns players were, but they had this look on their face like, oh my God, we're going to lose. That's it. This is a nightmare. We're going to be the laughing stock of the league. And you cut to the terrible pooch kick, whatever that was, on the ensuing kickoff. And then the Odell play bailed the whole team out, including Baker, because that was a terrible miss down the left sideline, and exactly the type of plays that lead to collapses for teams where you're like, okay, would have been fine if he just hits the wide open guy and the quarterback takes heat. He takes the heat off Baker. He takes the heat off the defense. So Odell deserves a lot of credit for that. And Mark, the Browns are 3-1. 3-1, Mark.
Well, and I hope it's a legit 3-1. I think I would rather be a team that's, running the ball the way they are than freaky finishes.
All right, let's keep moving.
Back to Josh Allen. They'll try to build on a 7-point lead. Allen taking a shot. Up in the air. It is caught. Allen dropping a dime. And Diggs with a stroke of genius.
Spiro Ditas with the call for CBS. I'm not saying he's Randy Moss, because he's not, but I don't remember another wide receiver acquisition that has paid immediate dividends like Stephon Diggs to the Bills since Moss joined the Pats to set records in 2007 with Tom Brady. You heard there, a 49-yard catch coming off a turnover sets up the clinching score for the Bills. 30-23 win over the Raiders at the Death Star, as they call it. The Raiders added a garbage time score here, but don't be fooled by the final tally. The two teams played competitively in the first half, but the Bills dominated in the second half, and now they're 4-0 as a result. And Josh Allen puts the finishing touches on a stellar first quarter of a season. 3 more touchdowns, 2 passing. This time, he didn't have any of the head-scratching mistakes mixed in. It was really solid effort. He came down awkwardly on his left shoulder. That obviously led to some nervous moments for Bills fans, but he came right back on the field at the end of the first half and finished the game. He's playing just incredibly well. So there's nothing about the Bills 4-0 start that leaves me thinking, are they for real, though? I think the Bills absolutely are for real. And like we said in the Thursday preview show, Wes, that Allen hasn't just taken 1 step. I feel like he's taken 3 steps. And you add him with Diggs, with this defense, with this coaching, and you have a Super Bowl contender.
It's one of the most incredible metamorphoses we've ever seen at that position. You mentioned the decision-making. Look how many things he's changed from last year to this year. And he improved from the previous year already. But the decision-making, he had to improve touch. He's done that. He had to improve accuracy and ball placement. He's done that. The degree of separation these receivers are getting sometimes is minuscule, and he's putting it right on the money. These were all issues he had to solve, and he's solving them. In addition to what you say, that having a guy like Diggs on top of their other moves hitting too. Cole Beasley was a big hit. Smokey Brown was a big hit. I mean, everything is going right, and it's fun to see.
Brown's catch in this game near the goal line was ridiculous. I mean, Diggs had a ridiculous catch. Every one of their receivers, really, that you go down the list, made an incredible play. I thought this was Allen's best game because his accuracy was so good. I thought it was his best day just throwing the ball. Because you're right, Wes. I think in other weeks they did have a lot of separation. In this one, the receivers weren't that open, and he was completing tough passes. They're an Arena League team right now. I mean, they're going to score 30, and if they can get a couple plays defensively, and today it came from Josh Norman forced the fumble, and Ed Oliver got a 4th down stop, and Quentin Jefferson got a strip sack in the second half, then that's all they need. And the concern, though, Dan, is their defense is bad. I mean, there wasn't a stop in this game until 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and the Raiders were the first team to make a stop. So the history tells you McDermott will coach them up. but they're not playing well on defense, considering how many people were out for the Raiders. I actually thought, well, they were coaching it up pretty well, but they've just made a lot of mental errors. The Raiders have in big spots.
I wouldn't say they were dominant by any stretch on defense.
No, but they literally didn't get a stop until almost the fourth quarter.
All right, but it was 30-16 with a minute and a half to play. So they were okay. It wasn't and if you look at their numbers, they've struggled in the second half this season. They're not getting to the quarterback a lot. I agree with your point overall, but I thought they were in total control of this game by the midway through the third quarter.
I wonder, like Brandon Beane, to me, I mean, he's the guy that he goes and finds someone like Gabe Davis, who also at wide receiver. You've got a whole nother player that's starting to become a big part of the offense and made a great catch today. Brandon Beane's the guy that said, I'm going to roll the dice with Josh Allen. And that was a player that completely divided the scouting community and coaches and everyone else. And the same way that when you get Russell Wilson changes what we think about shorter play callers. I mean, Josh Allen stands out as a really unusual type of player, but maybe it leads to more uber athletes like that need more polish, getting a higher look in the draft, because it's not crazy to think that a player can grow between years 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. And I mean, the jump is astounding, but I mean, it's the coaching around him. It's Josh Allen putting in the time. But I mean, he fits so well. All these pieces fit so well together. And I just think Brandon Beane is a big reason why some of this is happening.
It's so satisfying to have supported this guy, Josh Allen, all along. And then me and Wes lock him up today.
Absolutely.
And he just backs us. It's just great to be part of the Bills Mafia and see this coming from a mile away.
It was nice to see the official apology tweet from the StatHead analytics community, from Josh Hornsmeyer or whatever, saying, "Oh yeah, nobody could have possibly seen this coming, except people with an eye for talent known as scouts could see it coming and did see it coming."
I'm very connected, and it's a very personal thing, the 2018 draft class for me, because I root for a Sam Darnold team. And it did get me thinking on Thursday night during another depressing Jets-Darnold game, that what would happen if Josh Allen was on the Jets? What if he went to the Jets?
Case would have ruined any one of them, I think.
Right. And this is to take nothing away from Josh Allen, but more to make a greater point about this is a big part of football, and success is landing in the right place, which these players have no control over. Josh Allen was fortunate to land with the Bills team that was just on the rise, and he is, reaping the benefits of that. All right, let's move on.
Play action fake, dropping Brady, looks toward the end zone. Brady throws toward O.J. Howard, makes the catch, touchdown Tampa Bay, fire them cannons, O.J. on the run, skinny post, it's 6 for the Bucs.
We don't need to say O.J. on the run ever again. We just retire O.J. on the run. Talking about football players. Unfortunately, O.J.'s not going to be running for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers anymore this season. He suffered an Achilles injury in this game, but not before he caught that 28-yard touchdown pass from Tom Brady. That was, by the way, Gene Deckerhoff of WFUS. Brady threw for 369 nice yards and 5 touchdowns, each to a different receiver, helping the Bucs shake off a 17-point early deficit and beat the Chargers 38-31. That's 3 straight wins for the Bucs after their season-opening loss against the Saints. Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, Howard, Cameron Brate, Keshawn Vaughn all scored on Brady touchdown passes. Greg, I don't remember seeing this version of TB12 during his Patriots swan song in 2019.
Yeah. How do you mean? Like a vertical game or
just
what?
Like shredding, filling up a box score and just going nuts statistically in the game.
Not since the 2018 AFC Championship. You're right. He is on the perfect team because he can go through big slumps. I don't think the Bucs offense has played well this season. I don't think their passing game has been really any better than it was a year ago. He struggled for the first half of this game, had about 90 yards, I think, in his first 20 attempts. And they were trailing 24-7, and Joshua Kelly, as they're just trying to run the ball out to end the half, the Bucs didn't have the timeouts to stop it. They're up 24-7. They're going into halftime. He fumbles the ball right near his own goal line. And then after that, you're right. It was the Brady that you wanted to see in Tampa. I think after that, it was TD, field goal, something like that, where they did not get a stop the rest of the entire game, and they were going bombs away. It was Bruce Arians, And I don't even know if Tom Brady was the best quarterback in this game. That's how good Justin Herbert's been. But when you're 3-1 and you finally get a week where the offense is the one that picks up the team, which was absolutely the case in the second half, that's good for the Bucs because they're winning games, and I feel like they can get a lot better than they actually have been so far.
Well, I'll let Wes wax poetic on Justin Herbert, who I know I can tell he has Wes's attention, but it was Arians who said after the game that he said, honestly, had this been last year, we would have gotten our butts beat, and butts was a different word that he used, by 20 points. So I don't maybe the offense was better last year in some ways, but they're going to grow. And I mean, they're in a much better hands with Tom Brady at the head of the thing than Jameis Winston.
Oh, we saw a Jenga piece get taken out in action today with Austin Eckler. Boy, the change in that offense with him in there in short yardage situations, in 2-minute drill situations, their ability to play situational football went out the door when Eckler got hurt, and that really hurt them. But Justin Herbert is so fun to watch. I don't go into these Sundays planning to watch the Chargers, and then you catch a couple of plays here, a series there, and you find yourself being pulled in by Justin Herbert and his playing style. The way he beats blitz is not by the hot read 5 yards away, but by going over the top for 40 yards and just not being afraid to attack defenses.
He's the story. They've lost 3 straight games, and somehow he's the story. He was so incredible in this game, and he threw an interception with a chance to go tie it down 7 late. Before that, he had played almost perfect. The deep ball, the touch. His running backs went 16 for 20, 16 carries for 20 yards after Eckler got hurt. He's playing without 11 starters right now in the Chargers. I mean, they are so banged up. Jalen Guyton, Tyler Johnson, Don Parham, Chicken Parm. I don't know what's going on. Like guys that you just don't know are making big plays for them. And a lot of it is just Herbert is so athletic, but has been really accurate for the most part too. And I'm with you, Wes. He has been so fun to watch. Their injuries, I think, have ruined their season. But Herbert at this point has given them so much hope for the future.
And what's better to see than the fact that he's making plays with these no-namers versus, completely, we have to wait a year to find out what he is.
It kills them though, because they wanted their defense to carry them, and it's just not going to happen now. They've just lost too many players. And I don't know if Bosa was on the injury report. He was totally erased today. The Bucs O-line played great today.
Give Tristan Wirfs some credit. He's turned out to be, if 4 games mean anything, that's a home run draft pick.
And Justin Herbert was another guy like Josh Allen. I remember we were at the Combine, and someone that is very well respected in that game, that pre-draft game, was like, "Oh yeah, I don't like Herbert. He's the only guy I don't like."
He was very divisive.
A lot of people didn't like him. Yeah.
Sure enough, the guy comes out of the gate like a mad bomber. He's been a lot of fun to watch. Looking forward to
feel for them,
checking that out.
They've lost every game by 1 score so far. Very Chargers of them.
All right, let's move on.
Handoff goes inside to Latavius Murray, looking for a seam. Touchdown, Latavius Murray. Saints get great push again. Always a good sign when you see your guard standing up in the end zone, and Latavius Murray puts his pads down and just drives a hole through that defense. And from 6 yards out, Latavius Murray with his second touchdown of the day.
Zach Streif with a call. WWL. Yeah, the Saints rode that COVID-19 roller coaster this weekend, came out smiling on the other side. Latavius Murray's 6-yard score was the final of 5 consecutive touchdowns for the Saints, who wiped out an early 2-touchdown deficit in a 35-29 win over the Lions. As I said at the top of the show, Saints fullback Michael Burton had a false positive test for the coronavirus on Saturday, leading to another round of tests for players and staff overnight in Detroit. Burton said just a lot of emotions going on because you never want to be a distraction. They had to wake up other guys and test them. Factoring in the background noise, the absence of multiple members in the secondary, of course, Michael Thomas. That's a nice win for the Saints, wasn't it, Mr. Sessler?
Yeah, I mean, they overcame a lot. You mentioned it. I think Sean Payton, all these coaches have to say, this season when it comes to COVID, we just have to nod and accept any scenarios. But, there used to be the old thing where, rowdy denizens of a town would go pull the fire alarm in the visiting team's hotel. But this is a whole different deal when it's attached to something that could be grave or cancel the game in general. And they got down 14-0. And it was a very Lions-ish game on that front too, because they get down 14-0. And at that point in the second Lions touchdown came off a Breeze picked or a tipped pass that wound up as an interception. Then though, New Orleans, minus many starters, got on a tear because they went on 5 straight touchdown drives, 35 unanswered points. They weren't quirky either. 4 of those drives went for more than 75 yards. And we all get where Drew Brees is at this point, and he still, to me, has a little bit of a 1,000-yard stare where I think he kind of gets where he's at too. But he was more effective in this game. He looked different than he had in weeks past. He was deadly accurate on intermediate routes. I think Next Gen Stats had him at, let me find it here. Well, Next Gen Stats liked what he did on intermediate routes.
Really good.
That he was really good. I will
just
also
splice
mention
that in. Good at football.
he was really good. But it's, what was good to see was like Emmanuel Sanders stepping up. Traquan Smith, who looked like he was going to get knocked out of the game with an injury at one point, made some great catches in this. So they got enough from just the right people. Alvin Kamara helped them out. This game also was a scoregami, which is one of those unique NFL scores that have never occurred before. And that is the 1057th scoring combination in the NFL. That kind of stuff I like. As for the Lions, they look the same to me on offense every week.
Scoregami.
It's like you're leaning on, I like Adrian Peterson is still good. Okay. But like no offense should be centered around Adrian Peterson right now. And they get a few plays from Kenny Golladay, and they're trying to, TJ Hawkinson is becoming a little bit of a thing, but Matt Patricia, come on, dude. I mean, like, this is the same thing every week. You get up by double digits, you let it all go. And I mean, this was ripe for the picking had they just, hung on to it. And the Saints were a little, they just had, to me, better coached. They lean on better depth. And they came up in a game where there would have been all the excuses to crumble here. You could have pointed to 8 or 9 different things, and they come out with the win.
I mean, the Lions have lost 6 straight leading by double digits.
Coaching.
There's obviously, maybe this shouldn't be obvious, but there's never been an NFL team to do that. I mean, it's outrageous. They're heading into a bye week. I mentioned the Bucs scored 4 touchdowns in a row. You said it. The Saints did 5 in a row. I mean, I don't know. It's a new Ford owning the team right now. You don't know if she's going to jump in and want to make a big splash in week 4. What's really the point? But it's ugly.
I think Kamara's back to being the number 1 running back in the league, and I don't even know if there's anybody close.
He looks great.
Well, you've embraced, Mark, fantasy in a way that none of us could have expected this year. So I'm sure you know that he has lapped the field against other running backs in terms of fantasy scoring, because he is, especially with Michael Thomas out of the lineup, and hopefully that won't be too much longer now. He seemed to be on track to play this week, and then over the weekend he was ruled out, but he has been a major part of the passing game. And I we'll see where they are at the end of the season. But Wes, I know you've been very big on Drew Brees and the arm strength and all that, but am I going to be stunned if they end up as a top 10 offense according to various metrics? I won't be. They're scoring points. I think
they'll end up top 10. To me, they'll be top 10, but then in big moments against a better defense, we know the quarterback's limited. He has been for a couple of years. This offense goes through Kamara and Thomas, not the quarterback.
I would love to have a great regular season offense to root for.
Right. It's like last year they lost Breeze and Teddy came in and he was Teddy, and they showed again that they're very resilient. They can win with depth and backups, but now they look kind of like the Teddy Bridgewater offense with Drew Brees at quarterback to me.
Big win.
Let's move.
Rivers upfield throws to Mo Alley Cox, and he barrels forward across the goal line. Touchdown, Mo Alley Cox.
Matt Taylor, WFNI with the call. Mo Alley Cox is having a breakout season with the big score. Julian Blackmon's interception of Nick Foles was a killer for the Bears quarterback, who struggled to move the offense in his first start since replacing Mitch Trubisky. Final score 19-11, Colts over the Bears at Soldier Field. Wes, Indy has been winning with their defense so far this season. More of the same on Sunday, it looks like.
Well, I think how the Cowboys struggle at all 3 levels of their defense. I think the Colts really do well at all 3 levels. DeForest Buckner had another dominant game. Darius Leonard got injured, but he's been there at linebacker, Justin Houston at linebacker, and then this Julian Blackmon that they drafted in the 3rd round came in for Malik Hooker in week 2 and has been an upgrade. This guy is a natural ball hawk. He and Xavier Rhodes both playing great in the secondary. And if a team like the Steelers is sort of like sharks with chum in the water, I think the Colts defense is more like a constrictor, like a python. They just suffocate you. They squeeze the life out of you. And they did it again today. And if, Foles said this week, Frank Reich's the guy who made him a player. It reminded me sort of like an old school dad saying, I brought you into this world and I'll take you out too, because Frank Reich's defense knew how to stop Nick Foles.
Well, and on that front, Wes, it was Blackmon who said that Frank Reich prepared their defense so well for Foles. So it bit them too. And it's just, I think this game also squeezed the life out of some viewers, according to Dan's reaction to what he watched. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I said on Twitter that one day I'll tell my grandchildren that this game was the most bored I ever was. I couldn't. I had it on my secondary screen, and apparently we're going to get to a game later that a lot of people are coming back with saying even worse. But then it led to kind of a fun thread where people started sending me some box scores of other super boring games in recent NFL history, going back years. Everybody has them. They stick to your mind when they're truly wretchedly boring for whatever reason, and this one was that way for me.
Colts have been boring for 3 weeks, winning boring. I guess that's fine. They're going to play some real offenses. These are 2 of the only teams in the league where I think you can look at and say, like, oh, they have defenses. Like, it feels like there's only like 6 or 7 defenses at most, and these are 2 of them. But is there, Wes, you watched it. What's your level of panic with T.Y. Hilton? Because T.Y. Hilton's really
Someone basically said that he retired 3 weeks ago.
Oh, he actually played really well today. He had one 50-50 ball he came down with. I think he brought another penalty. But I thought he played well today. But I did identify the Colts' fatal flaw this year.
Ooh, what is it?
It's the red zone offense. And if you look at the pickle that Josh Allen puts defenses in the red zone, the way he can take a quarterback draw, he can take a rollout, he can squeeze passes into tight windows. How many of those things can Phillip Rivers do? He can't beat you with his legs, and he can't squeeze passes into tight windows. So what does that leave you in the red zone? This is a struggling offense down there. Hey,
Phillip Rivers, what do you say to the red zone struggles that your team has faced?
Golly.
Does it bother you, though?
Aggravates the stew out of me.
Oh, yeah, I get it. I feel it, man. There was one play, Wes, I tweeted about it, and then you replied. And whenever Wes replies to something, I tweet from an analysis standpoint, and he agrees with me. I feel good about it. They were in the red zone, and the pocket collapsed. No one's open. He goes to escape. He's so slow. Oh my God! I mean, he is. I would think that Brady might even be faster than him. Like late period, Eli Manning's got him beat. He just moves in slow motion, so there's no adding extra, stealing yards and turning, Josh Allen type theatrics out on the Colts offense. They need to be more precise.
We have a term for that, and I think Joe Flacco helped us get there, which is Stone Age pony. And I mean, Rivers can still do some things well, but dancing around nimbly is not one of those things.
He was one of the slowest quarterbacks, I think, the day he entered the league. And he's been playing and at no point, I think he's maybe been the slowest quarterback in the league the whole time he's been in it. And now it's 16 years in. It's not going to be any faster.
It's like David Ortiz trying to score from first on a double in 2017. At a certain point, it almost becomes a story when someone gets that slow. But it's fun. It's fun. It makes us relate to the men. Sometimes Wes, trying to score from first with the shield, we were popping hamstrings trying to get around the bases.
Oh, snapping like dry twigs.
Golly.
All right, let's move on.
Jackson will keep it on the read option. He's got a hold. 40. Leg race 30. He's going to go 20.
Turns out if you don't do a dead sprint for like 4 years and then you run to first base, sometimes your leg implodes.
But you really wanted that back.
All right, that was Jerry Sandusky with the call WBAL. Lamar Jackson ran for a 50-yard touchdown, his career long, which surprised me. I thought he might have had like a 99-yarder in there. at some point since he was a rookie. And he threw for 2 scores as well in a bounce-back performance by the reigning NFL MVP and the Ravens as a whole. They take control early against the Washington football team and coast to a 31-17 win. Coming off a humbling loss, obviously, to Kansas City on Monday night. But this Baltimore team, this is the team that does massive damage during the regular season. You could see it. Like, you could see how their sphincters tightened up on Monday night. But when things go in the opposite way, they play so loose and they play so confidently that you understand why things go right for them. You know, like Sam Koch's 15-yard completion on 4th and 9 on a fake punt throw. Like, I don't think John Harbaugh had the onions to pull that on Monday night. I thought that they were tight as a team, but when you're playing Washington, this is when the Ravens look absolutely impossible to beat. I will say that the defense, you would have thought they would absolutely have their way with Dwayne Haskins, but that wasn't quite the case. Haskins actually threw for a career high 314 yards, but a lot of it was checkdowns and Antonio Gibson doing the hard work for Haskins and a deep ball late in garbage time. Wes, to your boy, the star wide receiver whose name I'm forgetting for some reason right now. Scary Terry McLaurin. So don't put too much stock into the yardage by Washington. They weren't competitive. And there was one play in particular, a 4th and goal early in the 4th quarter. It's a 2-score game where Haskins locks on a guy in the flat and throws about 9 yards short of the end zone. And the guy gets pushed out of bounds because 3 guys were converging on him as he caught the ball. And they cut as CBS or as Fox goes to break, or CBS it was. You see Ron Rivera turn his back to the camera and just like stalk back to the bench. And I don't know, he could have been doing or saying any number of things, but I'm wondering if what's going on in his head is like, this guy doesn't even know that he needs to throw to the end zone on this play. The game's over after that play.
There were reports before the game that Ian Rappaport reported they were going to pull Haskins if he struggled, and he opened with a punt, a turnover, and a punt. So I wonder how close they came to yanking him before they missed the field goal and then scored. You know, he picked it up a little bit, but
yeah, the turnover wasn't on him. The turnover was a forced fumble by Marlon Humphreys that led to a touchdown. But yeah, Haskins, it was like a C performance that probably will keep him in the lineup. But again, keep an eye on that situation.
It's tough for the Ravens because you compare him to last year, and I'm happy to hear you say, Dan, you thought it was dominant, because I looked at this starting the game and I just am comparing it to this team that was historic. And I think, wow, you come out against Washington, you punt 2 of the first 3 possessions, and then you need a fake punt to score on the next one. And Lamar's thrown an interception right before halftime, and the yardage is pretty close, throughout. And it's almost unfair because you're comparing them to that offense. But like last year, it feels like in this game, they go 45 on you.
Yeah, probably. It was dominant in the sense of like, this game was never in doubt and they took care of business, but this wasn't the type of Ravens performance we became accustomed to last year. That's fair. Any other questions about this game? I don't know what's going to happen with the quarterback situation, but that was a get right game for Lamar Jackson. And I assume they will continue to get right next week against Cincinnati.
It's so weird that Washington's tied for, pending the result of the Sunday night game. We taped this a little earlier. It's like Washington's, right in the mix.
I mean, that's,
1-3.
I don't know.
Someone's going to win the division going 5-11. Maybe they'll still be in the mix, in December. But
I'm just kidding. But it's ugly.
By the way, the Ravens lead the NFL in points off turnovers this season with 38. So they do that. They still do a bunch of things well. I think it was a bump in the road on Monday night, and it's one that could cost them, as we talked about with playoff positioning. But they'll continue to beat up all these teams that are beneath them. The Ravens are going to be okay. Let's move on.
First win.
Review, as the runner went to the ground, the ball hit the ground and moved.
Thank you.
It's an incomplete pass.
Thank you.
It's first down Minnesota at the 5-yard line.
Ball game 31-23. Vikes are in the win column.
That's the best we could do for the call here.
I heard it. That was it. I mean, that won the game. That was the type of ending that the Vikings got.
I think we're going to have to enhance the vetting process starting in week 5 on these calls.
I mean, this is what type of game it was.
Paul Allen with the call for KFAN. Mike Zimmer, struggling D, got the stop it needed, as you just heard. And Dalvin Cook ran for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Vikings, who beat the Texans 31-23. Greg, the roadkill game has produced the expected result. One team lives to fight another day, and one team, the one coached by Bill O'Brien, is headed to the NFL's equivalent of the Pet Cemetery.
They are in a division where the Colts are 3-1, the Titans are 3-0. You know, the Texans are 0-4, and the Dolphins have their first 2 picks next year. And I thought that call was perfect, Dan. I'm going to argue for it because neither team
look away, children.
I think feeling so good. I mean, the game ended on an overturned call of Will Fuller in the end zone. David Johnson was half a yard short of giving them the Texans a chance to go for a 2-point conversion. What would have been a big time collapse by the Vikings defense. They have the ball half a yard short on second down. Then Johnson fumbles it on a pitch. And they eventually get it to Fuller, who you think maybe was going to make an amazing play, and they overturn it on review. And it's just like that reaction to me from the Vikings is almost perfect because it's like, well, we got to win. You know, that's it. That's all we got. Wes is giving me the thumbs down.
The whole sequence.
It's so bad.
Spice it up.
You know, to your point, Greg, like there's a friend of mine named Eric who is a longtime listener to this show. He listens to every episode, and he's a Vikings hardcore fan. And he said, here is my takeaway from the game, that Mike Zimmer and Gary Kubiak should be in totally hot water despite the win. That the team feels like it's floating. Well, I mean, you know, we're looking at the season on whole, but that this is a team headed in the wrong direction no matter what happened today against a lost Texans team.
Well, defensively,
they won today. They're going in the right direction. Yeah. They won.
Defensively, it's absolutely true, and I don't know if they're going to be able to fix it. Danielle Hunter might be out half the season. We'll see. Offensively, I think they have a lot to be excited about the last 2 weeks. Their offense has played very well the last 2 weeks, especially today. Today it was even better. Kirk Cousins had a really good day. Justin Jefferson, they found something. I know it doesn't feel like the Stephon Diggs trade was a win-win, but you did get a bunch of picks, a lot of picks.
Yeah.
And you drafted Justin Jefferson, and man, he looked awesome today. Dalvin Cook is running. You know, I know Alvin Kamara has been the best running back, but the last 2 weeks, Dalvin Cook has broken a tackle almost every single run. And that zone running scheme that Kubiak is, brought to bring in, it's taken hold because they're running against 8-man boxes, and it's the angles that they're running are beating those boxes. So I think their offense has some good things to feel good about, but the defense probably is not going to allow them to make the playoffs. It's enough. It's something.
I just want to check out this Viking upcoming schedule. Let's see what's going on here.
Ew, gross.
Look away, children. At Seattle on Sunday night next week.
Ooh.
Tough spot. Home versus Falcons. At Green Bay. Home versus Lions. At Bears. Okay. I mean, they're probably going to have to figure out a way to go.
You got to beat the Packers and Bears.
3-1 there.
You got to beat the Packers and Bears, or else you're in trouble. That ending, though, it was unfortunate. Deshaun Watson cooked in the second half, but he really struggled in the first. But I just want to point out how bad this Texans defense is. They don't have a turnover this year, and they're just fatally. They don't have a turnover. I don't know if J.J. Watt's hurt. He was on the injury report earlier this season, but he wasn't this week. He hasn't played every snap like he normally does, and he certainly hasn't made big plays. But they're so slow. This is such a slow defense, and you have 2 inside linebackers playing every down. Zach Cunningham can't cover, and Bernardrick McKinney. They're one of the worst rush defenses, if not the worst in the league, and they just are beating them to the outside. They're just so slow, and so it just feels like a fatal construction of this entire defense.
They're both locked up through their slow years. They're both locked up through their slow years.
Well, they're gonna cut McKinney, I think, after this year. But I don't see how this defense figures it out. It's ugly.
Who's the other?
Don't try to convince me to start believing in the Vikings this season. I'm just not going to do it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
I wasn't going there. I was just defending Kubiak because I think you can absolutely see some good things about their offense the last 2 weeks. That's all. But the team does not look great.
T.Y. Hilton, J.J. Watt, A.J. Green. Superstar Club is going to have to make some Painful decisions.
Watt started the
It's
season
off-season.
pretty good, so I'm leaving some room here, but the last 2 weeks have been tough.
All right, let's move on.
Jones has his Giants at the line, has the snap, steps up right at the 20. He fires to the 5. It is intercepted. Darius Williams, a diving interception to clinch it with 52 seconds remaining. He had the diving pick in Philadelphia in the end zone, and here at SoFi Stadium, he does it again.
There he is, Elite Mensch. There you go, Greg. JB Long, KSPN with the call. Big interception there of Danny Dimes. And Jared Goff hit Cooper Kupp earlier in the quarter on a 55-yard touchdown that allowed the Rams to grind it out 17-9 over the Giants. And Mark, the only thing that people are ever going to remember about this game is the Jalen Ramsey Golden Tate brawl post-game. It's the only thing anybody's going to talk about because it's highly salacious. It's a family matter, and it's spilled out into the public forum on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's you can go look up what the family matter is if you'd like.
I'll tell you. So,
I'll tell you. How about I'll tell you?
Yeah,
basically, Golden Tate.
I can't even dignify bringing it up on our
but that's coming because we were told by email. No, we were told by email not to dig into it. But I'm sure no one's listening to this thing. So basically, Golden Tate's sister was with Jalen Ramsey, and when she was
Mark's spilling tea right now.
Well, probably I won't be on the show anymore. It's because we can't possibly follow the rules of NFL.com. But there was an issue between these two because Jalen Ramsey basically walked away from Golden Tate's sister while she was pregnant to be with what they're describing as a Las Vegas dancer. I don't think that means up on stage like
a showgirl.
Yeah, I think it's probably more in that world. But beyond that, they've had bad blood it's been going on for a while. They have not encountered each other on the field. Today they did. And it's interesting that the play of the game, because Dan, this is probably the game that many people were writing to you saying,
yes, it was.
This was the most boring game people have witnessed. And I'm sure, in the league offices, they're thinking, how special that we finally get to have Los Angeles and New York, our two special markets, clash in a 4:00 spot. And it was making people's eyes bleed. So,
Bills fans are like, actually, it's New Jersey. Enough. Right. We get it. Western New York. You're the only New York team. Stop hitting me up on Twitter. We get it.
The Rams were in an absolute stupor, and it was 10-9 with about 10 minutes to go. And the Giants were basically they were looking better on the ground than Los Angeles, and they were moving the ball. And that is when Jalen Ramsey slammed Golden Tate down on a third down catch that basically gave Goff and the offense one more shot to kind of turn this thing around. And that's when the Cooper Kupp catch happened, and then the Rams had another chance to come out, and they had a 3-0. So they never really got it together. And I kind of look at it. It doesn't really change what I think about the Rams that much, because I think the good teams are going to have one of these games a year where it's they were in a total funk the entire time. These teams were bickering the whole time, though. Aaron Donald got into a fight with someone. There was stuff on the sideline. Then this thing erupted at the end. So I wonder if it was a really ugly, ugly game. And one where if you're the Rams, I'd want to see why that was. But I wouldn't take too much out of it, other than the fact that I would always be suspicious when, on our show on Thursday, we all kind of ticketed this as a Rams blowout. And then on Friday, I was watching some shows, and the predictions for the Rams blowouts were getting bigger and bigger. They're just going to take New York out 38-7, 48-7. Then we know it's not going to happen. And it didn't. And the Giants, their defense, for the fact that I would imagine most people couldn't name 3 people on that defense, they were frisky in this game. And you can kind of see the makings of something happening on that side of the ball. But the offense lacks any direction right now. I mean, they're a messy team.
I am obviously from New York. And many of my friends growing up are Giants fans, and there has been a sea change on text around Danny Dimes. Very quickly, they're starting to turn on the young passer and in general on the Giants and Dave Gettleman, and they're getting psyched up about the idea of Trevor Lawrence and being in that hunt tank for Trevor. It is, if you take out that first half of week 1 on Monday night and actually go all the way through and midway through the third quarter against the Steelers, where he had that 95-yard drive that ended with the interception. From that interception on, Jones has been kind of a mess, and that's probably the final nail in the coffin of Dave Gettleman. Finally, if this doesn't take, it has not been good overall in 2020 for Daniel
That's
Jones.
true, but the only thing, if you go watch this game, I mean, he's not well protected. And there were times when Jared Goff didn't look well today because he was not well protected. And so, it's systemic. It's what's around him. And you've lost Saquon Barkley, the heart and soul of your offense. And, Jones creates a lot of his own problems. We know that. But there were certain plays where like everything was crumbling around him. And it's like young quarterbacks typically are not going to survive in that atmosphere to begin with.
I thought, Dan, that was a harsh assessment. And I think the offense has been crumbling around him the entire season. The offensive line's been terrible, historically bad rushing attack. They only moved the ball the previous week on design quarterback runs. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate. I do think it's been crumbling around him.
I mean, they combined for less yards than the Cowboys had, these two teams.
But
the Rams had 240 yards. That's one of the most surprising things of the week. But I'm with you, Mark. I think with these seasons in general with the NFL, it's like, okay, 1 week you just give them a mulligan. 2 weeks is a trend, and then you see what's happening. They're 3-1. These NFC West teams, and we're going to get to one that hasn't done a good job of it. They have favorable out of division schedules, so they have to take advantage when they're playing the Cream Puffs. And they did it enough today.
Let's check in with another undefeated team in our league.
Rush. Russ looks right side. Got a man in the end zone, reaching up, making the catch. David Moore. Is he in for the touchdown? He is. David Moore.
Man, David Moore is another guy they have. That's Steve Rabel, Kiro, with the call. He had 3 catches for 95 yards, including that game-clinching touchdown for the Seahawks in a 31-23 win over the Dolphins. And this game was closer than the Desert anticipated, but not for the reasons that I thought it would be a close game too. We talked about it on Thursday, but I thought it'd be more of a high-scoring game with Seattle's defense continuing to struggle. But there was progress for Seattle's defense in this game. They delivered a much better performance here. They actually kept Miami out of the end zone until the game's final minutes, which made the score look closer. But this was, I believe, a 17-15 or 17-16 Seattle lead in the fourth quarter before they pulled away. So the Seahawks will take anything positive around their defense right now because they're essentially just like the Cowboys are a great offense with a horrific defense, and they're 1-3. The Seahawks maybe aren't as bad on defense as Dallas has been. They've had some better moments, but they have a similar problem where they're fantastic on offense, can't get stops on defense, but they were better today, and they're 4-0 now for the second time ever in their season, and Russell Wilson is matching Peyton Manning's touchdown record pace through the first 4 games of the season.
What do you have to hold on to if you're a Dolphins fan, you think right now? Not to go negative, but
I was
like
thinking
Flores, but I just don't know what it is. This team, it just feels like it feels like a second straight transition year, I guess.
Yeah, I was thinking about that after the game, because especially when you talk about the quarterback position, because Fitzpatrick has been good on balance. Again, he's steady. He's fun to watch. He has his up moments. He has his down moments. He's Ryan Fitzpatrick. But you're 1-3. If Tua is healthy, wouldn't you at this start to begin thinking about the process of turning it over and beginning to evaluate him and kind of officially start this next era of Dolphins football? I don't know. Maybe the hip injury that suffered in college. I know he's cleared and all that, and I think he was the backup quarterback on Sunday, which is a sign, again, they believe that he's healthy. You just wonder, even though Ryan Fitzpatrick has been Ryan Fitzpatrick, whether they're getting closer to that decision.
Yeah, I wondered if they were waiting to let Ryan Fitzpatrick play to see how good the rest of the team was and whether it's worth rushing him in there behind, probably the rawest offensive line there is. But they've outperformed expectations, I think, up front.
Yeah, the defense, they want to get, they have a lot of young players in defense, a lot of free agent additions. So I think they're hoping that they improve as the season goes along, but they're not there yet. I mean, I just look at the Seahawks being 4-0 and you think of who's undefeated in the NFC, and it's just like, wow, this NFC playoffs is going to be, I know it's a little early for this, but it's just kind of amazing to think that the playoffs could be Rodgers, Russ, Brady, Breeze. McVay maybe gets back in there or whatever. It's just like the quarterbacks. It's outrageous. I like the idea of like the top heavy Seahawks, getting a top seed.
Yeah, I know we're not allowed to talk MVP talk on the show, Greg. You decided that, but
a quarter poll, you can at least like do the MVP of the first quarter. How about that?
Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
Good.
Well, I was going to talk about, the all-pro call that I made with Aaron Rodgers, which I feel good about. But then you look at like what else is going on. How many guys get all-pro? 2, right?
2.
Okay, so you have what Dak Prescott's doing. You have what Russell Wilson's doing. You have what Josh Allen's doing. I mean, even a great season by Aaron Rodgers, there's some truly badass quarterbacks.
Dak would be 4th right now, which is crazy. He would not. I think that the other 3 would be
Who's
splitting
4th?
up the votes. Dak would be 4th out of that group, and I think
even if he throws for 7,000 yards.
Right. Well, you
didn't even say Mahomes.
Right.
Or Mahomes. Excuse me. Of course, Patrick Mahomes.
I'm just saying, if you had to vote today, I think that's what would happen. Yeah.
I don't think Dak's a top 4 MVP guy.
And good to see Chris Carson out there, by the way. He was a game time decision after he got his knee twisted. He actually scored twice, averaged 5 yards a carry. So that's also good news. And we'll see if the Seahawks get Jamal Adams back next week and start to get healthier and can turn this into a trend that the defense is on the upswing. Good battle by the Dolphins, but not good enough. All right. Are we bringing on our friend Nick Shook now? Is it that time of the show?
Ooh.
It's time for the handoff. 2 handsome bald whites. Only one can stay on the show, though. One must arrive, then one must leave.
Can't have two.
0-sum game with our handsome bald whites.
Yeah, Shook's looking fresh. The beard is looking well coiffed. Nice. I like it. All right, bath time for me. We'll see.
We'll see. Wes.
All right, Wes. Enjoy.
Later, Wes.
Nothing like a little game bath time.
He's gonna light some candles, burn some incense, and take a bath. I haven't taken a bath since I was a child because I find the idea of a bath repulsive. Like you're basically going there to cleanse yourself, but you're bathing in your own filth.
Well, you wash yourself first and then you fill up the bath.
How many people do that?
I would wash the bath first because it's also other people's feet and people.
You taking a lot of baths, Greg?
I mean, that's what you do. You wash yourself first and then you fill it up. That's the move.
Well, I like that. But I can't even. It's gotten increasingly worse for me, where I'm not really going in too many public pools either. I think about it too much. Maybe it's having kids and you realize just how gross younger humans are, and then half the older humans, the hygiene's probably not where it needs to be. Shook, where are you on this before we get into the next game?
I mean, I feel like that's just a waste of water and a long process. I mean, if you're out to really relax, I guess you do that. I will say my grandparents live out in rural Ohio, and they built their house, I think, like when I was an infant or whatever. And part of the house construction was this really nice bathtub with jets in it. And that is an experience. That is worth taking a bath. But if we're here strictly to efficiently clean yourself and you got other stuff to do, bath's out of the equation.
Well, of course not.
A bath is always to luxuriate in. Right. I mean, I think Wes is doing it, for instance, he's not like, I must clean my body. He's doing it for the sensation of being in warm water, which essentially takes us back to the womb.
Well, what's Greg's excuse for his daily bath?
I don't take any actually at my house because it's too small. But I've taken. Yeah, I'm just saying that's the move. And Wes does it and watches Game Pass, which is next level. He puts on he's getting Justin Herbert out there, maybe a bottle of conditioner nearby, and he's going to town.
And then the other thing
is, don't get too excited.
This is also factored in my thoughts on it. When you have 2 young sons and they share a bath together, and sometimes it's like, oh, Harry, did you use the potty before you got it? And he's like, no, you know what happened. They don't care. These kids don't care. All right. Shook, thank you for joining us. We got you set up with a couple games here before Sunday Night Football, so let's dig in.
Now Burrow will line up in the shotgun, even though it's 3rd and less than a yard. He'll hand it to Mixon. Mixon bursting through the middle to the 10, the 5. Woo! Touchdown! Joe Mixon and the Bengals, his 3rd of the day.
Dan Hort. Or is it Howard? Joe Mixon. He spent part of his weekend in the hospital with mysterious chest pains. But he looked fine on Sunday. Rushed for 151 yards and 25 carries with 2 touchdowns. Had another touchdown on a swing pass reception from Joe Burrow. 33-25 win over the Jaguars. Shook. That was the first win of Burrow's career. But the story here is Joe Mixon. Breakout performance.
So for the entire season up to this week, the Bengals had inexplicably gone away from Joe Mixon, and it didn't make any sense, especially with a rookie quarterback. What are the 2 things you give a rookie quarterback to try to make him feel comfortable, especially when you don't have a good offensive line? 1 is a tight end that he can rely on, and 2 is a reliable running game so that he doesn't have to drop back 50 times a game, which is what the Bengals primarily did for the first 3 weeks. Then around halftime today, it's like somebody went down to the sideline at Paul Brown Stadium, grabbed Zach Taylor by the shirt, social distancing totally violated, slapped him around twice and said, hey, you got Joe Mixon on your roster, give him the football. So he did. 25 times, 151 carries, 2 touchdowns. The first touchdown kind of serving as the score that broke through the wall for the Bengals, I think, through this season, because far too often, and especially in the first half Sunday, their offense just ran into these issues when they got down in the red zone. It just felt a little constrained. It's almost like they tried to do too much. And then they said, all right, well, let's hand the ball to Joe Mixon. Let's dump it off to him. Let's figure out ways to get him the football. He scores on the right side, takes a shot after he scores, and it was like, oh, we forgot we had this guy. Look what he can do. And they rode him the rest of the way to a victory. And what this game really looked like before that point was very much what last week's game that ended in a tie with the Eagles looked like. Then they scored with Mixon, and it's like they just opened the floodgates or just opened their own expectations or understanding of reality that, hey, we could score we could score. I hate score the football or score the basketball, by the way, even though I almost just said that. And we can win a game, and they won a game. So, good for them and finally realizing that they have a good running back on their team.
I mean, Burrow is go ahead, Greg.
No, you go.
I was going to say Burrow's the first player in NFL history to open his career with 3 straight, with multiple 300-yard games like this. And I mean, he just seems like he looks the part, and it's been a terrible situation for him. I mean, he's been under duress nonstop, and I'm totally with you that they should have used Mixon more than they have. But I mean, it's like, record aside, some of these teams, like, if you're a Chargers fan with Justin Herbert, if you're a Bengals fan with Joe Burrow, it's like the sun is still shining very brightly because of what you found under center.
Yeah, of course. And he was impressive again. I mean, he totally looks the part. He's the real deal. I mean, I in all the games that I've watched him, he looks like a guy that you were right in spending the first, the number 1 overall pick on, which oftentimes we've seen teams spend high picks on quarterbacks who just don't look the part when they get to the NFL. Joe Burrow looks like he's been in the NFL for 5 years, and he did again Sunday. But the problem was they were trying to rely way too much on him in weeks past and going away from Joe Mixon and expecting Burrow to win the game single-handedly. And with the offensive line that they have, he just hasn't been able to do that. He's gotten him close. He got him close against Cleveland. He got him close against Philly. He even got him close in week 1 against Los Angeles. This time, they finally went away, not away from him, but they used somebody other than just Joe Burrow, and it put them over the top. Now, the Jaguars, I mean, they were exciting for the first 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks are the team that we expected to see, and I think the team that we're going to see for the majority of the season. It was a close game. For a while, we were in the tie zone, kind of. It was very much in play because they neither were really doing much, and they were within a score before the Bengals kind of finally pulled away. There were a few times in the first half, too, in the red zone where Joe Burrow had a chance to put the ball in the end zone. One time, it was a really nice pick by Myles Jack, who ripped the ball out of Drew Sample's hands. The other time, they just couldn't get it in there. And had to resort to a Randy Bullock field goal. So again, he's the guy. They have their quarterback. They just have to fix everything around him, or at least use the weapons around him. And Joe Mixon is a big part of that.
Well, they're not going to play the Jaguars every week. That's a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, they had 4 plays over 20 yards in the first 3 weeks. For as much as Burrow has looked good, they were by far the least explosive offense in the league. I think they had 8 or 9 today. I watched this game by mistake, thinking it was my assignment. Whoops. But I'm glad I knocked it out. They're very similar teams to me. And the difference was the decision-making by Burrow is pristine when he's protected. I mean, you can't fault his offensive line today. He was protected pretty well today, and obviously he got help with the running game. Whereas Minshew had a couple decisions when he chose to run on a 3rd down that ended up in punts, and they were bad decisions. And the interception he threw was a bad decision. He played really well, I would say, overall. They just have a very small margin for error, this defense. And so if you make a couple and you have a coach who doesn't seem to realize what kind of team he has, punting on 4th and short and kicking field goals on 4th and short. Marone sometimes he's playing to a defense that's not there. Gruden does that too.
Poking around the box score here, Shook, I'm seeing, because we brought him up earlier, so I'll bring him up again. AJ Green had 1 catch for 3 yards on 5 targets. Is there anything? They had 25 receptions overall, the team, for 300
And Higgins
yards.
looks good, right?
Yeah.
Is Green just not a part of the game plan anymore, or was he injured, or what?
He was a focus of Jacksonville's game plan for sure. Very often when he was targeted, there seemed to be at least 2 defenders in the area. There was a couple times where he was completely blanketed and couldn't come down with the catch. But you're right, like Greg said, T. Higgins was a big part. He looked good today. Tyler Boyd was a big part as well. They were the 2 guys who got the ball the most. Joe Burrow does a very good job, especially for a rookie, for not looking to AJ Green and not relying on that. He's surveying the field and he's finding his open men, which, I mean, this Bengals team, if they were just a little bit better, probably defensively, and could avoid, becoming too reliant on Burrow, they could win some football.
They're competitive.
Games.
They're competitive right now.
They've been close in every game they've been in.
Also fair to ask, you give Burrow credit for that, but it's possible that AJ Green is washed too, right? And he's not getting open anymore because he doesn't have the ability he once had.
I mean, John Ross is a healthy scratch weeks in a row. I mean, I feel like that guy's out the door.
What is it? # gradual decline. I don't know if that's entirely true with AJ Green, but he has not been a big part of this offense for the majority of the season.
You know what the Browns messed up last year, Shook? When you were a team employee, and we still need to get the full details of what led to your early exit there, but if they had you as the muscle, you were talking about somebody that needs to go down to the sideline and straighten out a head coach that doesn't have his head on straight. If you were going down there and slapping around Freddie Kitchens, telling him to get the ball to Nick Chubb more and Kareem Hunt and all this, maybe the Browns would have been a playoff team last year.
Well, I mean, Freddie and I had a pretty solid relationship. That wasn't the issue. The issue was they had too many cooks in the kitchen there. On the offensive side.
But you could take out multiple cooks. I mean, I think we all see where you're at physically. Like multiple cooks would not be an issue.
Maybe they had 1 too many kitchens in that building as well.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, I would never be an enforcer with Todd Monken. Like, have you seen him? He's a skinny guy. He's a nice guy. He's an offensive wizard at the college level now. So we're all good. I was going to get in there and cause problems.
All right, let's move on.
Bridgewater retreats, climbs the pocket. He's going to run with it. Bridgewater cuts to the right at the 15, the 10. Bridgewater to the 5. Unbelievable. Teddy Bridgewater houses it from 21 yards away. Sneaky fast.
Nick Mixon and Kirk Coleman with the call, WBT. Teddy Bridgewater, he's sneaky fast. The Panthers QB scrambled and juked his way to an 18-yard scoring run. Added 2 passing scores, 31-21 win over the Cardinals. The Panthers cool off the Cardinals. Actually, the Cardinals have cooled off precipitously after that 2-0 start. Shook, that was Teddy's first rushing TD since that devastating knee injury back in the summer of 16. He's an amazing story.
Yeah, he certainly is, and he was very sharp today. You got to give a lot of credit to the game plan put together by Joe Brady and the way he called the offense today. I thought for every situation, he had an answer to whatever Arizona presented him with defensively. And this is one of those games where you're seeing 2 middling teams or below middling, and the coaching comes out as a difference. And the Panthers look like the more prepared team from the sideline today. It's just they were 1 step ahead of the Cardinals for the majority of the game. The Cardinals scored a touchdown late to make it a little bit closer, but for a lot of today, it was a Panthers-dominated game, and that started with Teddy. When he had that rushing touchdown, I said he did his best Sam Darnold impression because he escaped right up the middle for a touchdown. But I don't think he's sneaky fast. I think he's just fairly fast. I mean, we've known him to be an athlete for a while.
He is sneaky fast, though. Everyone went too hard the other way of like when a couple people were like, this guy can't scramble. I mean, this guy's a scrambler. He's athletic when he was coming out. And people were like, no, like you're just saying that because he's black. Actually, he's more of a pocket guy, but sneaky fast seems right for me. And I think he's been better.
The irony here, of course, is that usually sneaky fast is attributed to the white guys in the slot.
Right. He's the first black quarterback to be called sneaky fast. I think it's appropriate. And I think he's been getting faster. He's looked a little more athletic every year. And that was a big part of his game at Louisville. Not so much scrambling to run, but evading pass rushers. I think he's done a good job. How about Matt Rule putting it on old Cliff Kingsbury again from the Big 12? I mean, something something here. When you're getting Reggie Bonifant and Mike Davis to rush for 160 plus yards, I'm kind of in with you, Mark. This Matt Rule thing it's happening right now.
And people were like, oh, the thought was they would be progressing and causing problems late in the year, and they're already showing that they can coach well. I have to ask you though, Shook. I mean, when you look at the Cardinals, do you think that what's going on here? Are teams maybe catching up to this scheme, or are they just simply not functioning?
So Kyler Murray 4.3 yards per attempt today.
Yeah. But it's 2 weeks in a row where they've not looked at all like they did early in the first 2 weeks.
Well, you know why? Because a lot of the Cardinals offense is predicated on Kyler Murray improvising and patching all the holes that they have by just running and gaining first downs and adding that element of the unexpected. And when they ran the ball effectively last year with Kenyon Drake, it came out of the shotgun by spreading guys out. Well, that's not working this time. I mean, they were creating lanes by lessening defenders in the box. That's just that element of that is not in their game today. Kenyon Drake had 13 carries for 35 yards. I mean, that's not going to get you anything when your quarterback is consistently outrushing everybody else, and you have to rely on that as a staple of your offense. Eventually, other defenses are going to catch up to it because that should be something that's improvisation, not something that's built into the way you succeed on a week-to-week basis. And it really hurt them today. And it especially doesn't help them when they have to come from behind. Their defense did them no favors. Like I said, I think they were out schemed for the majority of this game. And I think that the Cardinals are going to have a tough path because those first games that they won early in the season, a lot of that, especially against San Francisco, for example, those first downs were converted by Kyler Murray with his legs. And I just don't think that's a sustainable way to win a game.
11 throws to DeAndre Hopkins wideouts for 26 yards. Yeah, that's not the Gabbard zone. That's like the Cincinnati Reds batting average zone. I mean, that is rough.
The Panthers, and this is why sports are funny. Panthers now 0-2 with Christian McCaffrey, 2-0 without, which takes us to Sunday Night Football.
Oh, Sunday night.
From the 25-yard line, Mullins throws, and it's picked off. And all the way to the end zone, touchdown, Alex Singleton. So Mullins makes a terrible throw. Singleton is right there. And there they are celebrating in front of the big screen. Woo, baby.
Who, baby, indeed. Al Michaels with the call for NBC. Alex Singleton. Right place, right time for the special teamer who steps in front of that Nick Mullins pass, takes it to the house. Turned out to be the clinching score for the Philadelphia Eagles, who hold on for a 25-20 win over the San Francisco 49ers at the Big Bell Bottom. A huge win. The Eagles, who, as the old saying goes, spent most of the game on offense, making it look like they were on a 120-yard field going uphill both ways. But Carson Wentz with a long touchdown pass to put them ahead, followed quickly by that pick six, and Nick Shook. The Eagles are in first place as a result.
It was ugly, but I don't think this Eagle team could win or get their first win of the year any other way than in ugly fashion against a team that was, I don't know if it was equally as shorthanded, probably more shorthanded. The Eagles have had their own rash of injuries, of course. I mean, we saw who scored, a touchdown tonight, a guy who has no statistics recorded prior to tonight in Travis Fulgham. So an interesting game, an exciting game at the end. Sure, if you thought that Beathard could actually throw it to the end zone. But, hey, the Eagles are off the schneid, right?
He did throw it to the end zone. Beathard it is crazy that after the Eagles kind of sat on the ball and didn't pick up a 3rd and 9,
I hated that.
After replacing Nick Mullins, and we can, get into Nick Mullins just having a nightmarish night from the jump. I mean, he missed his first 2 throws by a mile, including what could have been a monster one to Juszczyk. And Beathard put a Hail Mary up there from about the 35-40 that literally hit George Kittle and Deebo Samuel in the hands. So it's like it was that close, but the Eagles almost felt like they deserved this one. I don't know. The way the defense got after Nick Mullins was pretty good, and it just felt like a miracle. The 2 long drives that they did have on offense, the touchdown drive in the first half and the field goal drive to start the second half, which took about 8 minutes. It just felt like that was such an achievement for them that it was like, okay, enjoy your first place. You're 1-2-1, Eagles fans.
I thought coming out of the half that the Niners, they put together this drive. That third quarter was one of those almost rare quarters where only 2 drives would have occupied in the entire period, but there was a little bit of a third one in there. But the Niners had a touchdown drive that covered 75 yards that I thought was sort of a Kyle Shanahan and almost Nick Mullins special, where there was a bullet to Brandon Ayuk. McKinnon got involved. There was a classic nod to Mike Shanahan with a shuffle pass that John Elway used to run with the Broncos back in the 90s. And then everything fell apart from there. It was followed by a punt, the fumble, the interception, the quarterback switch, and there you go. Niners could not get it done.
They go up 18-14 when Wentz connects with Fulgham for 42 yards. Then the pick 6. And the game looks like it's effectively done at that point, 25-14. Beathard comes in and gives the Niners a spark. And after onside kick recovery, especially with Doug Peterson, a guy who helped bring the league along in being aggressive on 4th down, I didn't understand the way they played that. They ran the ball for a yard. They ran the ball for no gain. And then Wentz did that annoying little thing where the quarterback takes the snap and then scrambles and then slides down like Michael Strahan's chasing him for the sack record. Not being aggressive, whereas just go get a first down. Just go get a first down and show some gumption. But I guess Doug Peterson that's where he's at with his offense. Even coming off the touchdown pass on the drive before, there was 3.5 quarters of evidence saying that Philadelphia is not an offense to be trusted right now. But they got away with it, but it was definitely a closer call than it should have been. But that doesn't kind of mar the night for me, especially since they still won. I think it's commendable. Carson Wentz has gotten a ton of heat this year, and he's deserved some of it because he hasn't played well. But yeah, he is really dealing. It's got a stacked deck against him, and the offensive line is beat up right now. His left tackle was in and out of the lineup. The wide receivers. So many pieces are missing, and it just seems like such a challenge. Even against an injury-depleted 49ers defense, it was very difficult to find receivers who were open. So you give Wentz credit for hanging in there and keeping this game close and then making the big strike to take control.
When he's got Adrian Killins in there, you've got Travis Fulgham. But I would just say if you're going to use Jalen Hurts, that's fine, but have those plays make sense. Have the offense, to me, the Eagles offense, like pretty much post Frank Reich, but I'll just speak about this night, like I don't think they kind of know what they want to be, and maybe they can't with the personnel in there. But like Miles Sanders, to me, like I'm not nearly as impressed with this guy as some people around the country seem to be. Like when they were dominant back when they went to the Super Bowl, I think the thing that is forgotten because they've never been that way since, they had a pounding run game that would beat people up down the stretch. They were the 3rd best run game in the league, and that's completely absent right now.
I think that's kind of indicative of the fact that they've lost so much in the offensive line. I mean, not having Brandon Brooks is a big deal. Having to shift Jason Peters over is a big deal. Having to figure out what to do at left guard.
But they weren't last year either. Like,
yeah, and
they were
right.
Right. I mean, they weren't this banged up. I mean, I think they think this is a freaking miracle that they just won a game without you mentioned Lane Johnson coming in and out. So 4 of their 5 offensive linemen were out. Their top receivers were Fulham. Greg Ward was kind of their number 1. You got Richard Rodgers coming over from Green Bay. You got Hightower, your 5th round pick. Their defensive line is totally healthy and was deep. And to me, was the difference in this game. Brandon Graham was killing Mike McGlinchey. Those are 2 starters, actually. McGlinchey is the 49ers starter. Josh Sweat made plays like they up and down their bench. That was kind of the most dominant part of this game. But Mullins also kind of just didn't show up.
Yeah, I think Mullins is the big takeaway for me here. I think they lost the game because of Nick Mullins. It stinks to put it on one player, but when it's the quarterback, that's the way sometimes things go in football. Because you look at this team, and if I'm a Niners fan, I'm bummed because I'm 2-2 now. But at the same time, you see the pieces are there. George Kittle came back and is absolutely just such a dominant player. He's the toughest tackle in football. Deebo Samuel's back in the lineup, and he made some plays. He just looks different, and he's big and he's fast. And then Brandon Ayuk, you saw he flashed that special ability on the touchdown. Once Jimmy G gets back in there, I think the Niners are going to be okay and continue to hang in the race, but it doesn't make this loss any easier to swallow because you're at home against the injury-ravaged Eagles team, and you don't find a way to get it done.
Yeah, going back to that Eagles offense point, it felt kind of like, Doug Peterson's just searching for something. I mean,
Right.
the whole Jalen Hurts insertion and everything they tried with him, they tried to basically double pass, and he turned to throw it, and it was obviously covered because you had an idea of what they were going for with Hurts lined about wide. It just feels like they're searching and they're trying to find something that sticks. They're throwing everything at the wall, and they finally get a win. So I mean, it's a boost for them, because going back to Philly, 3-1 would have been really difficult. Especially against a team that's quarterbacked by Nick Mullins and then later CJ Beathard. So you obviously give them credit to the defense, like you said, but it's still going forward, it's going to be tough.
And they have to play the Ravens and the Steelers coming up next. Every win in the NFC East counts a little extra, though. This was kind of a perfect example, though, of part of what is 2020 football. I think it's been a little underreported almost, or just the level of injuries is outrageous. This isn't normal to have entire teams ravaged. Like we're kind of getting on the 49ers for not beating this injury banged up Eagles team, but the 49ers are missing 9 or 10 starters, and so are the Eagles. Like that is rare, and there's about 6 or 7 teams that are like that. And even the teams that are kind of healthy, it's like, the Browns lose Ogunjobi and Chubb today. Even during this game, the 49ers lose Ziggy Ansah, sounds like, to a biceps injury, maybe for the season. It's like they got Deion Jordan. They're picking up lottery guys that were out of the league and just like putting them right in. And it's kind of the story of the league right now. There are some teams that are just so wiped out. It's a little hard to even like make an evaluation of any of these teams.
Right. But I think, Greg, people widely praised the Niners for being super injured and pounding 2 bad New York teams. They played a banged up team tonight and they lost. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if statistically there are more injuries or not. It seems like there are, but I feel like we have this conversation every year.
There are in terms of like multiple guys. In terms of like half of a team of starters being out on like 5 teams, that never happened. So I guess I'm just giving the 49ers fans, they're going to get some people back. Like Dan said, the cavalry is coming. They went 2-2. If you can beat the Dolphins next week, you're 3-2.
I mean, you've also picked the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl, so you've got both fan bases on the Greg Rosenthal side here. We know how this works. There's going to be a little campaign. Greg does this with 2 or 3 teams a week, tries to reach out to their fan base on Twitter. Dan knows what I'm talking about.
Football. What are you talking about?
No, it's not. We all like football.
I picked the 49ers to miss the playoffs. So
I'm sorry you're here for this, Nick.
Did we get a mention of Saints Twitter yet?
Exactly.
We got to start ringing a bell for that. Hey, Shook, I want to thank you for doing the show. I know, obviously, this has been a tough time for you after the Indians crapped the bet against the Yankees in the playoffs for another year. Tough stitch for you, but you're a good sport for coming on the show.
Well, Dan, if we could ever level the playing field in terms of salary spending for rosters, maybe a salary cap or better revenue sharing or I don't know, something to compare the payrolls at all. Well, then maybe we'd be on an even playing field, and then we could talk seriously. But the Indians always undermanned in terms of finances, even if their owners turn a $30 million a year profit, give or take.
You got to get an owner who spends some money.
They're never going to spend money here. It's a deep conversation that we cannot do on this podcast. The last time they spent money was when I was a kid in the 90s with the Jacobs, and those guys are long gone. It's tough.
Yeah, your Cy Young winner's got to do better than that, though, in that spot.
Well,
you want to talk about the salary cap? Go ahead, or the last.
Yeah, just let him allow Nick to enjoy one of the rare Browns victories of his lifetime versus bringing up stale Indians news.
I'm a Jets fan, so
you're a Yankees
maybe this is my chance to have something nice in my life. Maybe it all balances out a little bit.
I mean, I feel like the Yankees are a pretty nice thing to have in your life in general as a
it must be nice, to be able to look back on a few World Series in your lifetime. Unlike I have to go back to my great grandfather to find the Indians' last World Series. And you know what? One more thing: the Browns, like you said, Mark. The Browns, they're now 3-1 for the first time since 2001. They opened that season with a loss to the Seattle Seahawks, 9-6 at Cleveland Browns Stadium. Ricky Waters was on that roster, among other people. I opened 2001 by playing flag football on the field at Cleveland Browns Stadium. That's how long it's been since the Browns were in any shape of contention at this point in the regular season. I was in 4th grade.
It's all changing, though.
It's been a while.
Lots changing. It's important. It's important to get your self-worth from whether your team succeeds or not. So this is big. Like this is what's going to make you rise.
Imagine if we all had the clarity that Greg has on all things in life.
As a Patriots and Red Sox fan, who you've got like 86 titles under.
I didn't do anything for them. They give me nothing.
We'll reach that level of stoicism after understanding what any success.
The guy's just on a higher plane.
Yeah,
living. It's vision over visibility with Greg.
I'm just saying, don't let these losers control you when they're being losers. You're a winner, Shook. All 4 of us are winners here. Like sometimes an organization is just a bunch of losers, and when they are, you recognize it. And
our
when
colleague,
you have a nice Browns team,
our friend,
you're nice.
Our psychologist, Greg Rosenthal.
That's very LA of you, Greg.
All right, well, let's get out of here. Shook, thank you again for being our tag team partner here on Sunday nights. You're a great value add to the show, and we'll be back on Tuesday with a action-packed Around the NFL podcast, breaking down not 1 but 2 games, including Chiefs Patriots. The last word I'll give to Al Michaels, or I should say Chris Collinsworth, who said in response to Al saying our buddies Jim Nantz and Tony Romo are still in Kansas City, Collinsworth replies, so Romo's going to do Monday night after all, which just slayed Al, because Al, of course, is involved in the Monday night courtship, supposedly, reportedly, in the offseason. All right, that's it. Dan Hansa signing off for Quiet Storm. Nick Shook, the mailman, the old boss, and Ricky Hollywood behind the virtual glass. Until Tuesday.